Hi, I'm Alex Cotney, and I'm going to be reading essay number 3 called So You Think You Can Shoot. People who've never tried shooting might think it's as simple as point and shoot. However, like any sport, there are many things to consider and to get right all at the same time. It can be a very frustrating process. There are many types of shooting events. Each challenge a shooter's ability in different ways. Combining the right gun, body position, aiming, and hitting the target takes a significant amount of coordination and practice. Although shotgun shooting can be made to look easy, it's a very hard skill to master. The sport of competitive shotgun shooting has been around for over 100 years and uses a rifle-style gun with a barrel that is larger in diameter than a rifle. The gun is also loaded with a shell instead of a bullet. The shell contains gunpowder and a packing of metal pellets, also called shot. The shot will vary in size and amount depending on what type of ammunition is used. A target called a clay pigeon, which looks like a disc, is launched into the air. The shooter then aims the gun at the target and pulls the trigger. The trigger causes a firing pin to hit the back of the shell and ignite the gunpowder, causing an explosion that will propel the shot out at a high velocity. The shot forms an oval pattern in flight. The goal is to hit the moving target with the shot so that the target breaks. A skilled marksman can make this whole process look very easy, and the whole action is over with in a matter of seconds. However, it often takes years of practice to master the skill of hitting a moving target with accuracy. Shotgun shooting is somewhat counterintuitive to the novice because the shooter does not aim directly at the target. Instead, the shooter has to aim at where the target will be when the shot and the target meet. In the sport of shotgun shooting, this is known as leading the target, which is one of the most difficult skills to master. The gun is always moving, following the target. Even after pulling the trigger, the shooter must continue to swing the barrel along the correct path or he will miss the target. The sport of shotgun shooting, as described above, typically involves the three events called skeet, trap, and sporting clays. Each game uses the same targets, and they all have the same end goal, to hit as many targets as possible. In the game of skeet, the shooter moves through 8 positions located along a half circle. However, each station has a different perspective of the clays, which fly from 2 sides of the field. This makes it difficult because depending on where the shooter is standing, the target will fly in a different direction. At some of the stations, the shooter even has to hit 2 targets that are flying in opposite directions. Skeet is all about consistency and takes hours of practice to master the game. In trap, the targets come from the same place but fly in multiple directions. In the game of sporting clays, the shooter has to travel from station to station, and each station has varying targets. Each game has its own distinct challenges and requires specific skills and significant practice. However, none of this can happen without the right gun. Choosing the right gun is very important and can make or break a shooter's ability. Shotguns are very expensive and require maintenance to keep them running smooth. There are many things to consider when buying your first shotgun. First of which is choosing between a 20 gauge or a 12 gauge. The 12 gauge shotgun is more powerful and is used at the professional level. Most people will prefer the 12 gauge shotgun. However, the 20 gauge might be more suited for smaller individuals, as it is lighter, less powerful, and easier for a small person to shoot with for hours at a time. Meanwhile, gun size is also an important factor. For instance, if a gun is too small, then the person using it will have to lean their head over way too far and crunch up his arms to get in the proper position with the gun. This will interfere with the shooter's line of sight and cause them to miss the target. If the gun is too small, it will be uncomfortable to shoot and will cause the shooter to miss the target every time. Not having the right gun will only add to the stress of having to hit a moving target. The process of finding a gun can be very overwhelming for new shooters. This is why before buying, it is important to shoot with as many guns as possible to find the best one. Practicing with a trained professional can also help aid this process. After finding the right gun, the next obstacles to master are body position and hold point. For example, in the 8 stations of skeet, body position will affect the natural point of aim for the shooter. A person's natural point of aim is the most comfortable direction to shoot depending on the direction he is standing. Generally speaking, a person's natural point of aim should be relative to where he will hit the target. This means that the shooter should be facing in the direction where it will be most comfortable to hit the target as it moves through the air. As the shooter moves through the stations, he will need to change body positions to make each shot as comfortable and as easy as possible. However, body position and hold point go hand in hand. Hold point is where the shooter's gun is pointed before shooting. A shooter's hold point should be moving in the direction that the clay will fly. To accomplish this task, the shooter should point his gun at the spot where the clay will fly from, then move the gun out to where the clay will be. On top of all this, the shooter needs to make sure that he's not just swinging the gun around with his arms, but instead by rotating his hips. This will allow the shooter to be more stable throughout the shot and become more accurate. Having the correct technique is a crucial part of being able to hit a moving target, as it takes hours of hard work and practice. Correct technique will make the shot as easy and as comfortable as possible and help overcome the challenge of shotgun shooting. The last thing to remember is to never get frustrated, as it can be the pitfall of the entire game. One way to get frustrated is by focusing too much on the number of clays you hit. As experienced shooter Dave Miller says, don't get caught up in the number of clays you're breaking. Managing frustration is one of the hardest things to overcome in the sport and is key to a shooter's success. Frequently, a shooter will be hitting the targets one after another. However, not every shooter is perfect, and sometimes even the best will start to miss. When this happens, it is crucial to never get frustrated and always stay calm. Because of all the pressure to perform, this can often be tough for a shooter, especially if that person has a passion for the sport. Every shooter wants to do well, and when he starts missing, it is embarrassing and most of all frustrating. However, it is important to stay in the right headspace to perform at the absolute best. The most effective way to do this is by taking a step back to calm down and breathe. Then, when the shooter is ready, he can come back and do something different. Like every sport, competitive shotgun shooting has its challenges. At first glance, it may seem like an easy sport to conquer, but that is not the case. Competitive shotgun shooting takes focus, time, composure, and dedication. It is not just something a new shooter can automatically be good at. One of the most rewarding things about competitive shooting is how effortless it seems when really it takes a long time to master. Being a skilled shotgun shooter is a combination of having the correct equipment, the correct technique, and developing the right frame of mind to be able to remain calm and confident in all circumstances of competition. Even though the goal is to hit more targets than anyone else, every experienced shooter will always say his number one competitor is always himself.